Well, good morning, everyone. I am Don Zavis, one of the co-founders of the Tucson Paranormal Society. Want to welcome you to Inside Tucson Paranormal, our weekly conference call talking about all things unique and obscure in the paranormal world here in Tucson. And again, we have a wonderful, wonderful guest for you today. I had an opportunity to speak with our guest at length, Tom Morello. Been in the world of paranormal for a long, long time, an experiencer, and I think he's got some wonderful things to say. So, Tom, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be on your show today.
No, it's an absolute privilege. We're the ones should be saying thanking you. So Tom, what got you? I mean, I know you and I talked about a bunch of stuff, but for our listeners who kind of don't know you from Adam, can you share with them what your connection is with the world of paranormal? Maybe one or two of the experiences you've had as well.
Yes, I can. You got 5 hours. I can tell it all, but I'll try to cram it in within a half hour.
I was going to say, we don't have 5 hours, but if you could give them maybe a 5 or 10 minutes, and then we could maybe kind of have some open conversation questions, things like that.
Sounds good. My name is Tom Morello. I was born and raised in Michigan, so I am a Michigander. I had my first sightings of, UFOs and of the paranormal since I was about, I would say, 4 or 5 years old. I actually had some experiences where I would actually be outside, and sometimes my parents would wonder why am I outside at like 1, 2 in the morning, sitting out in the yard looking out in the stars. And for some reason, I never knew I was going out there, but apparently for a while I was having like sleepwalking, go out, look at the stars, and just hang out for an hour or two, and then go back to sleep. And this started early in life, and later, I found myself checking out the stars as I grew in my teen years in the 60s and 70s. I started getting more interested in the UFO field and checking out about the different stories that were coming out at the time. And I also had talked to people and read books on it. This is when around 1976, 77 was when Jesse Marcel broke his story about Roswell and was talking about what he witnessed in Roswell, New Mexico. And I just found it fascinating to hear and read up about all the information that was coming out. And let's say my first experience, well, we'll say big experience, I've seen stuff in the sky, I've seen stuff fly over houses, witnessed about ghosts, spirit world in our own house. We used to have a lot of people, well, I'd say people, entities would walk around or do tapping or knocking on, a door or knocking on a wall. I've had the experience. I don't know if people in the audience ever had an experience where if someone's visiting you, like could be a alien presence, uh, poltergeist. Usually they say when they leave or when to get your attention, wake you up. Excuse me. You'll hear a big knock on the door or on the wall to indicate that they were present at the time. I've had that several times happen with me while growing up as a kid.
And that would be primarily to help you be alerted to the fact that they're there. Is that
exactly?
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened to me a couple of times. But the biggest experience I have, excuse me, I'm gonna have to clear my throat. Sorry.
No, go right ahead. Take your time if you want to.
My throat, my throat dries out very easily with this weather. I have bad allergies. It's been bad.
Absolutely. No. Take your time.
But when we were talking a few days ago, we were talking about the experiences I had. One of them was in July of 1986. I was leaving Dearborn, Michigan. I was traveling up to Grand Rapids. Now, if people are not familiar with Michigan, it looks like a mitten. Michigan is the shape of a glove, like a mitt. Takes about 3.5, 4 hours to get from one end of the state to the other to Grand Rapids. I had to leave, get some items I had left at a person's house. I was traveling with another person with me. This was on I-96 down. You being from Michigan, you're familiar with the highways on Michigan Highway. All it is like 4 lanes on one side, 4 lanes on the other side, trees and darkness. That's all you see usually. Now it's been built up, but back in '86, that's all I was witnessing was darkness. As I traveled, when I was traveling with the other person next to me, I witnessed what looked like could have been a forest fire. It was above the tree line. And back in the day, I didn't have a cell phone, but how they're available to us now. So as I was talking to my friend, she was saying we should pull over, next exit, call the police or fire department, let them know about it. All right. So as we were rounding then, I see these lights are coming out from the woods. They're not. It's not a forest fire, but it looks like something might have been an accident. Something crashed in the tree lines in the woods. So I pull over the median, think nothing of it, get out of the car. My friend, she gets out of the car, travels through there, and I would say it would be about a telephone pole and a half, or two telephone poles, trying to describe how far up above us. What we saw,
Sure.
it had to be like anywhere from about 20 to 25 feet across. It was beveled underneath, like round, like a grayish black. Because it was nighttime. This was like around 1ish, 2 in the morning, and we were witnessing an object right above our head. I can tell you right now, the three things it wasn't was swamp gas, where Michigan got that name from the ocean.
I love that. Yeah, I love the swamp
No
gas
swamp
line.
gas. No flock of geese. There was no geese at the time above our head, and it sure wasn't a helicopter. This thing was just right above our heads. We're watching it, and it had a loud buzzing noise. Almost sounded like a swarm of bees or like hornets, like just like a high pitched buzzing noise. And as we're watching it, the lights on there were like red, white, green, and blue. I remember that part. And the lights were turning counterclockwise underneath. And it was just like slowly turning counterclockwise. We're watching this, which we thought might have been for like about 20 minutes or so. And as I turned to my friend afterwards, I said, "Are you watching what's going on?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "What would you call that?" I wouldn't repeat the words. She said, "I would call it a UFO or some kind of flying saucer." I said, "That can't be real." I said, "Right above us." I said, I'm not dreaming. I mean, that's real." So as we watched, we were standing there. After a while, we just said, "Well, then, oh my God, it's like someone's trying not to have me talk." Oh, that's weird.
Well, that's okay. So let me ask the question. So you're standing, you're up, you're looking at it right now. Is it?
Yeah.
Do you feel like any communication? Do you feel like it was aware of you? Like it was, communicating to you, or in any way, shape? There some part of it that, what you felt like was going to come down. There was going to be an interaction, or was just kind of, you were
Well,
checking out them. They were kind of checking out you.
yeah, exactly. What you just said was we were checking out them, they were checking out us, and occasionally the lights underneath object had made different shapes. Like I would sometimes see like a triangle, a square, and sometimes I would see like a crescent moon underneath. And it would just be like spinning around, almost, almost hypnotic. I hate to say describe it like that, but it was like a hypnotic feeling. Just watching it spin along slowly. And then after a while, I would ask her, "Do you want to go, or do you want to watch it? Yeah, we can leave, or we can stay underneath the UFO." I'm like, I gotta get my items out of the house. If I don't, the person I was living with at the time, she said, "You gotta move these items." I'm moving, blah blah blah. Okay, so we get in the car. Think nothing of it. Just walk out of the woods, go back in the car, start the car, get on the highway. There was no one around. It was empty. It was like we were the only ones on the highway at the time. Turn my signal on, all of a sudden I go about maybe 40, 50 feet. I slam my brakes. My friend said, "What's wrong?" I said, "We just saw a UFO back there. Do you realize that? I mean, it's not just, nothing. It's a UFO. There was some kind of object there, flying saucer." I see lights. Yeah, I was watching the lights. I don't know about UFO. I'm like, "No, it wasn't a UFO." And I backed the car up, threw it in reverse, and went back on the median, ran back in the area. It was gone. There was nothing there. It was just pitch black. It's like nothing even was in that area. And when
Well,
I
now,
looked at the clock,
was there any evidence like disturbed trees or I don't think it actually found its way to the ground. But anything
no, it
that
was
you could
above.
see that would be anything you could see that would be indicative any kind of damaged branches or something that may have interacted with with the craft.
Just, I think the only thing I saw was more leaves and a couple, branches on the ground, but not as much as I would think, but because it was like a clearing. Like it had a clear area, like I don't know if it cleared it out beforehand, but it was clear enough where it could rise up or just take off from where it was. There was a big open space around it. But when I looked at the clock on the on the dashboard, it was 4:30, and we went over there about 1:30, 1:45, something like that. And the clock said it was 4:30, and I know what felt like 20 minutes was not definitely over 3 hours. It didn't feel that
So
way,
there
but
was a significant time loss as well, because again, a lot of these interactions involve time loss, which
yes,
to some people purport then that would have been an abduction. I'm not saying that that was your case, but I'm saying in a lot of cases they connect this time loss with with that again an abduction experience.
yeah, that's what I'm like. Where did the time go? And I was laughing. I said, "She's gonna throw my stuff out in the street. So I don't get there." And she's leaving at 7 o'clock. She had to go to work, blah blah blah. And I just all all but we'll say, and I hauled down to get down to. I was living at the time. I don't know if people from Michigan might know Grand Rapids area. There was a small little town called Hudsonville. Hudsonville, Michigan. It's outside Holland, Michigan. Tulip time, where all the tulips grow. And if you're from Michigan, you know about Holland, Michigan. And I was living there at the time. Got there about 7:30. She's standing at the front porch to go get the stuff. And I'm telling her, I said, "Yeah, I could believe we saw a UFO off the highway." And we're just like, God, we were standing underneath it for 20 minutes. 3 hours. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. He said, "You find her in the UFO too?" I'm like, "No, that's a friend of mine. Help me move stuff." "Oh, okay. Here's the key. Dropped off to my mom. All right, see you later." Boom. And like jumping up. I'm like, "Oh my God, people are not going to believe this."
Well, and that's a common occurrence. Most people that have had an experience, their initial concern is that when they share it with the people in their world, nobody believes it. They're like, yeah, I can't even believe this happened to me. And then they, either they don't want to share it possibly with other people, which to me is wrong, or
Yeah.
they're reluctant because of perceived whatever people are going to make fun of you or going to
You're
say
going to judge it.
yeah,
Yeah, I've
exactly.
heard
They're
some
gonna,
of that. Yeah.
they're gonna think less of you. So, it's obviously that this happened years and years and years ago. But when you and I spoke, you've been connected in this for literally years. I mean,
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
involving this, but you've been involved in this for quite some time. So, was that the first experience that you had? And then, have you had other experience since that point?
Well, not the first one. It's the first big experience where I actually seen the object itself and was witness underneath it. But I've seen lights, I've seen UFO, like different lights in the sky and stuff come around, do like maneuvers around. But the the main one I've had, as I can honestly say, is being involved talking to an entity as identifies themselves from the Orion constellation. And my wife, she passed away about 5 years ago. She was what we would call a vessel that she channeled. She was a psychic medium. She was also an animal spirit guide, worked with animals, worked with spirit cards, and was about 40 years into the psychic as far as for reading or doing readings with the writer deck. But her main thing was came upon just by accident. We were doing a past life regression. My wife and I at the time wanted to see, do we have past lives together? Sometimes when you have a mate and you find she's your soulmate, let's see if you had a past life together in other places and stuff. And we tried doing hypnotherapy. I tried it, couldn't couldn't get into it. I would try to lay down, relax, and just just couldn't relax enough to put me where I wanted to be in a relaxed state to talk. So my wife said, "Get off the couch, let me try it." She lay down, was talking, talked about when she was a little girl. She used to meet the crow people that would come to Maine. She was from Augusta, Maine, and they would talk to her as a little girl, play jacks, play games, tell her about different stuff she's going to see when she grows up, where she's going to move to, and just had conversations with these, what she described like crow people. They were like about 3.5, 4 feet tall, and they looked like big crows. And it was just talking in her room. And after she described them, all of a sudden a voice comes out and says, "We are here." And the hypnotherapist at the time was talking to us. Said, "Yeah, we're here." I mean, Kathy. "Yeah, we're here, Kathy. We're here. Your uh, Tom's brother is here. Tom's here. I'm here. We're all here." She goes, "No, we are here." And the woman looks at me and says, "Is this a joke? You guys playing a joke?" I said, "I'm not playing a joke." She said, "What about Kathy?" I said, "Kathy don't play. When it comes to stuff of this uh, realm and stuff, she's very serious in her work, and she's not a jokester on stuff like this." She said, "Who's we?" I said, "I don't know. Why don't you find out? I like to know who we is too." So she asked questions. "Can you describe who we is?" And this is when the entity described themselves as being from the constellation of Orion's belt. We've known Thomas, his brother, James. We've known them growing up in Michigan since they were kids. We watched Thomas grow up. We watched him to the point where he's at right now here in Arizona. We influenced him and talked to him about coming to Arizona back in '86. You might remember when we told him about the sighting, and during the sighting that he'll be relocating. And it was like 2 years later, I relocated to Arizona, Tucson. I've been here for about 37 years.
So
And
there was a portion of this that was kind of it told you a future. or kind of anticipated what the future would be?
Yes. And he described all different sightings I've had as a kid, the years. And here's the ironic part about all of it. I never shared this with Kathy at the time. All I told Kathy, I was into UFOs. I researched it. I love stuff on movies, lots of different UFO shows. But I never told her about all my sightings. And I had a few, but I never mentioned about the big sighting in '86. And that's when she heard the tape. She heard everything, and she doesn't remember what she talked about. So we recorded the tape. And she said, "Oh my God." She said, "I got to tell you something. And then I can share this with your audience if you want to look it up." Her dad is in Project, he's passed, was in Project Blue Book. He's in what they call the Blue Book Unknown. I think there's a book now, there's certain files they cannot sweep away as Planet Venus, flock of geese, or swamp gas.
Sure. Yeah, there were quite a few in Project Blue Book that came up as inconclusive, or they didn't have an explanation for them.
No, not at all. And there was a rash of these particular ships that were flying around in the 50s. And if I'll give the audience some homework, if they look up November 15th, 1954, under the Project Blue Book Unknown, they're going to see a name there. And that is Kathy's name of her dad. Her dad witnessed 10 gold objects during the day flying down the Kennebec River in Augusta, Maine. And he actually called the police. This is before 6 weeks before Kathy was born. And he called the police. Augusta, Maine came out. They called the Air Force. And they did exactly what you see in movies. They questioned her dad upstairs. They questioned her mom in the basement. She was pregnant at the time. And Lee said, "Did you tell anyone else about this?" "No, I called the police. I didn't know what they were." He said, "You don't need to worry about it. It's nothing to worry about." He said, "Well, what are 10 gold objects? They didn't look like airplanes." "Well, we'll take care of it. We got your report, and we'll investigate and see." Nothing ever came up about it. They never got back to him, and nothing. And of course, he shared the story with a few friends. And of course, they gave him the razzing of, "Oh, were they little green men, or did they, wanted tickets to their leader?" It's later on that Captain and I were doing research, and we happened to stumble across UFOs and the Project Blue Book Unknown. And I asked her, "What year did your dad have that sighting?"
Yeah.
She said, "In the 50s. So we went down all the way down the 50s to November 15th, 1954. And that's where we saw her dad's name and what he witnessed. So it's kind of like
that's amazing, because that, again, when you've got corroborable witness that that's actually experienced something, and now you've got a connection. So obviously you've had a long history of this, and yet some people never see anything. And I just glanced at the clock here. Inevitably, we run out of time. I've got 10 questions. This is the first question I'll be asking you, literally.
Oh, okay.
So we're clearly
Wow,
not
okay.
we're gonna, because we end at 10:30 and it's already 10:23. So when why you, of all the people, and I always ask that because there's a whole world of people that never see anything, but then there are some people that see many, many, many things. And I guess my question is, do you think that you are unique? Do you think you were selected? Why you? Why do you think it was something about you?
I've been asking myself that for over 50 years too. And I'll tell you, it's been different. It's a different kind of life. And I don't know. I'm not. That's the only way I can describe it. I really don't know why me, but it did happen. I could take a polygraph test. I can whatever and people wanted to give me, I would take it and tell them exactly what happened. And plus, we have tapes of all the
Right.
sessions we had. But I,
And witnesses too.
yeah,
And witnesses. Yeah.
but wherever we go, and Captain and I used to see sightings, and people were with us over there. They were witnessing stuff, and couldn't believe it. So I just saw it. They're right there. Look at one of them right over there. So we traveled to the Hopi Res. We traveled up to Navajo Res. We see sightings up there, up in Zuni. We had a good sighting. I mean, we've seen so much different stuff, and it's uncanny. But whenever there was something major happening in the world, we would call upon, we'll see our little friend and ask them, what happened? Like, I don't know if you remember a few years back, the Spia Salinger, that airplane got taken down. They said it might have been a missile from the United States. And they said, no, no, it wasn't. It was just static electricity. I don't, that was a good cover story, but not exactly what happened. And we write about that in our book because
Right.
this is stuff we wrote about our lives, the 90s, all the way to COVID, to 2020, to COVID. And that's where, we stopped contacting him because Kathy being the vessel, she passed away. And that's what I was
Right.
talking to you about, the hypnotherapy.
Yeah. No, and I think in your situation it would be outstanding because again you're this wellspring of information. So tell how can now are you interested in having people get a hold of you if they have any questions or potentially talk about your experience?
Yeah, if they would like, or I see you have upcoming meetings coming up, Barnes and Noble and some other places.
Yep.
If you want to
Yep.
arrange a day or time, meet up,
Yep. Well,
sit around for
first of
some
all, yeah.
coffee or
Well, I would suggest anytime that you're available, really, in any of our listeners, we do Barnes and Noble, which is the second Tuesday of the month. In the evening, we have our Tucson Paranormal Society book club. Third Friday of the month at the Kettle Restaurant, we do our general meeting. Today, as we do our conference call every Monday at 10 o'clock, so you're welcome to join us then. So, yeah, if you're interested in connecting up with Tom, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to get you guys connected. And Tom, thank you so much. Again, a fascinating guest. People that have had these amazing experiences, I love to talk to because there is just, such consistency and accuracy. And, you can tell in their voice that they actually had something that took place. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And for our listeners, thank you so much. It's an absolute privilege to bring this paranormal content to you to every single week, and we look forward to bringing this more. So, Tom, again, thank you on behalf of myself.
hey, Don, thank you too. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great Monday. Bye bye.